Most teenagers depend heavily on their mother for support and guidance. But what could drive a young teenager to commit the unimaginable act of brutally ending the life of the very person who gave them theirs? What forces psychotic Daniel Bartlam to the edge of insanity, far enough to commit the unspeakable act at only 14 years old? To grasp the full story, we must rewind to the very beginning. Daniel Bartlam was born on the 11th of November 1996 to Jacqueline Bryant and Adrian Bartlam in Nottinghamshire. Daniel was the couple's firstborn, and Jackie adored him deeply. Although they were unmarried at the time of Daniel's birth, Jackie and Adrian were very happy and decided to tie the knot 3 years later. Daniel was initially a cheerful and vibrant child. However, his world shifted dramatically following his parents' divorce. The split came shortly after the birth of his younger brother, Dominic, in 2005. Jackie and Adrian decided to go their separate ways, ending their marriage. At first, Daniel appeared to manage the separation well, spending his weekdays with Jackie and weekends with Adrian. This seemed to provide some stability amongst the chaos for the young boy. But life would soon take another turn for Daniel when 2 years after the divorce, Jackie began a new relationship with Simon Matters. Simon entered Jackie's life while she was working to rebuild a stable environment for herself and her 2 sons. At first, Simon noted that Daniel seemed like a typical 11-year-old boy adjusting to the new family dynamic. However, he quickly noticed concerning changes in Daniel's behavior. Despite raising his concerns with Jackie, they were dismissed. She was reluctant to acknowledge the troubling signs in her son. Feeling limited in his role, Simon struggled to intervene further. After all, Daniel was Jackie's son, and Simon was just her partner. Simon believed Daniel's troubling behavior was a result of the divorce, even though it had occurred years earlier. By 2009, when Daniel was 12, the family was preparing to move to a new house. The move seemed to upset Daniel. He had grown accustomed to his lifestyle, but his mother, now divorced, had to make drastic changes due to financial hardships. Although he did not live with them, Simon helped the family pack and move into their new home. While helping Daniel pack his room, Simon discovered something deeply unsettling. Daniel, who had collected numerous Star Wars and Doctor Who figurines, some of significant value, had destroyed them. The figurines were smashed to pieces and stuffed into plastic boxes. Shockingly, Daniel had then urinated on them. The situation worsened when Simon realized Daniel had also defecated in various places over his room, including in the boxes containing the figurines. Unfortunately, the disturbing discoveries didn't end there. Under Daniel's bed, Simon found a briefcase that, to his shock, contained his mother's underwear. This was reportedly dismissed as odd but harmless by Daniel's mother, Jackie, who brushed it off as just something weird kids do. Adding to his growing concerns, Simon noticed Daniel's choice of DVDs was loaded with graphic horror films such as Evil Dead, Final Destination, and the Saw series. He didn't believe these were appropriate for a young child to watch. After the move, Daniel's behavior showed no signs of improvement. In fact, it escalated. He spent nearly all his time playing video games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty in his bedroom. His obsession was fueled by a stash of Red Bull cans hidden under his bed, which he used to stay awake late into the night. One particular incident deeply disturbed Simon. While entering Daniel's bedroom to get changed, he caught Daniel filming him with a video camera. When Simon demanded an explanation, Daniel remained silent. At just 12 years old, this behavior seemed unusual, but surely he was harmless, right? Daniel's behavior continued to escalate. He trashed the family's garden shed and destroyed plants. His bond with his younger brother also began to fracture. Tensions came to a head one evening when Jackie refused to serve him pizza for dinner. Daniel reacted aggressively, standing over her, fists raised in anger. Simon had to intervene to de-escalate the situation. Without warning, Daniel stormed upstairs and began hitting himself repeatedly on the head in an alarming outburst. In 2010, Jackie reported Daniel missing. He was later found by police wandering the streets alone in the area where the family used to live, still struggling with the move. Beyond his behavior, Daniel had an unusual hobby. He loved writing stories. But these weren't typical tales of teenage imagination. His stories were disturbingly graphic, often centered on violence and death. One story in particular was about a student who was being bullied at school. This student got revenge by stabbing the bullies to death. Daniel shared these dark creations proudly with Simon and Jackie, but when they questioned his motivations or asked why he wrote such grim narratives, he never offered an answer. Still, they saw no reason to question it further. At school, Daniel struggled to fit in. Making friends was a challenge, and his unusual behavior only made it worse for him. He once named his school tie Fred and told others it was trying to kill him. By March 2011, Daniel was referred to counselors for evaluation. However, after their assessment, it was determined that he posed no danger to himself or others. That single conclusion marked the end of any further intervention. No medication, follow-ups, or additional support. Tragically, no one could have foreseen what would happen just 6 weeks after the final assessment. Early in the morning of Monday, April 25, 2011, fire crews were called to Georgia Drive and Red Hill, Nottinghamshire. Upon arrival, they found a house engulfed in flames and 14-year-old Daniel standing outside with his 6-year-old brother and the family dog. Daniel informed the firefighters that his mother, Jackie, was still inside. Emergency services quickly contacted Jackie's mother, who rushed to the scene, finding Daniel trying to comfort his younger brother. Overwhelmed and distraught, Daniel told his grandmother he was afraid that someone had broken into the house and harmed his mother. When firefighters finally located Jackie's body in the burning house, it was tragically too late. She had passed away. However, it soon became clear that she didn't die from the fire. Something far more sinister had taken place. The police arrived swiftly and began their investigation, starting by speaking with Daniel. Daniel explained that he had been confronted by a mass intruder when he woke up to use the bathroom. He claimed the man threw a hammer at him before fleeing the scene. Daniel said he went into his mother's bedroom, where he found her lying on the floor with flames growing bigger around her. Panicking, he grabbed his younger brother and the dog and ran outside to safety. At first glance, Daniel's story seemed credible. After all, he was just a 14-year-old boy who had suffered an unimaginable tragedy. However, as the investigation progressed, pieces weren't adding up, and the police began to suspect that there was more to the story than met the eye. During the investigation, authorities determined that Simon, Jackie's partner, was away on business at the time of the incident, effectively ruling him out as a suspect. Investigators also noted that Simon and Jackie had a strong, healthy relationship. Additionally, they discovered that Jackie was well-liked in the community and had no apparent conflicts with anyone. Even her relationship with her ex-partner was described as respectful. To further their inquiry, investigators collected electronic devices from Jackie's home for analysis. Everything seemed normal. However, as the investigation continued, the police discovered that Daniel wasn't a normal teenager. They learned that he had been compiling video montages of violent scenes from movies such as Saw. His search history revealed concerning queries, including how to get away with murder and how long is a sentence for murder. Even more unsettling was a fictional story Daniel had written. The story featured a character named Daniel Bartlam who killed a mother named Jackie, detailing everything right up to what he would say to police when they arrived. 2 days later, Daniel was arrested and charged with murder. Despite the overwhelming evidence, he denied intentionally murdering his mother. Instead, he offered to plead guilty to manslaughter, claiming he had snapped after being called an effing freak by Jackie. He also alleged that he had suffered both physical and verbal abuse at her hands. Following his arrest, Daniel was sent to a secure facility to await trial and undergo a psychological assessment. However, shortly after his arrival, his temper flared again. He reportedly threatened to kill another patient, chillingly declaring that he would do so like I killed my mom. In 2012, Daniel Bartlam stood trial. The court heard how Daniel, then a teenager, had brutally attacked his mother, 47-year-old Jacqueline Bartlam, while she was in bed. Using a claw hammer, he struck her face 7 times before rolling her onto the floor. He then surrounded her with newspaper, doused it in petrol, and set it ablaze. To mislead investigators, Daniel left a lump hammer near the scene, attempting to make it appear as a murder weapon. Meanwhile, he wiped the claw hammer clean with a cleaning solution and hid it in his bedroom. However, forensic experts quickly determined that the lump hammer had not been used in the attack. The crime was so brutal that Jacqueline had to be formally identified using dental records. During the investigation, a child psychiatrist concluded that Daniel was not suffering from any mental illness at the time of the attack. However, during the trial, prosecutors revealed unsettling details about his state of mind. Daniel had reportedly been having disturbing dreams and hearing voices, urging him to harm people who upset or angered him. On February 9, 2012, the jury unanimously convicted Daniel of murder. Then, on April 2, 2012, the 16-year-old was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 16 years before he could be considered for parole. Under this ruling, Daniel would not have been eligible for parole until 2027. However, in 2019, just 7 years after the sentencing, Simon received a letter from the Ministry of Justice stating that 22-year-old Daniel was due for a sentence review. Simon pleaded with the parole board, expressing deep concern that Daniel remained a danger to society, stating he did not believe Daniel could be rehabilitated. Adding to his alarm, Daniel allegedly made a threatening gesture towards Simon during his hearing, drawing his hand across his neck as if to say, "You're next." Disturbingly, this is where the trail of information ends. There has been no further public reporting on Daniel's case. Whether he was released or remains incarcerated is unknown. The lack of updates leaves one haunting question. Could Daniel Bartlam now be walking among us?